Admiral Hyun-woo Park stood on the bridge of the massive human fleet carrier Soul's Promise. Around him, hundreds of screens showed other human ships moving through space. This was the biggest fleet Earth had ever sent to the stars. Hyun-woo felt proud and nervous at the same time. "Admiral, we're getting a signal from the Velthari command ship," said Captain Yoonbi Kim. She was the best pilot in the human fleet. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "Put them on screen," Hyun-woo said. The main screen lit up. A tall, crystal-like being appeared. Its body looked like it was made of blue glass that caught light in beautiful ways. This was Admiral Zeftar of the Velthari. Behind the alien, Hyun-woo could see other strange beings. Some looked like large fish walking on legs. Others had too many arms and eyes that glowed. "Welcome, humans," Zeftar said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "We are happy you have joined the Galactic Defense Coalition. Together we will stop the Void Swarm from destroying our worlds." Hyun-woo smiled and bowed slightly. "We are honored to fight beside you. Humanity will do everything we can to help." Commander Dong-ho Lee stepped forward. He was in charge of planning attacks. "Sir, our ships are ready. We have studied the enemy reports you sent us. The Void Swarm sounds very dangerous." Zeftar's crystal head moved up and down. "Yes, the swarm has already destroyed 12 star systems. They eat everything. Planets, ships, even stars themselves. We must stop them before they reach the core worlds." Dr. Sujin Choi was also on the bridge. She was Earth's best scientist for studying alien life. She had been working with Coalition scientists for months. "The other species have been very helpful," she told Hyun-woo quietly. "They've shared so much knowledge with us." Through the big windows of the bridge, Hyun-woo could see the Coalition fleet. There were thousands of ships of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like long snakes made of metal. Others were round like bubbles. The human ships looked simple next to them, but they were built strong. "Admiral Park," came another voice. This time it was General Tulmak of the Mordan. The fish-like being's gills moved as it spoke. "Your human warriors showed great courage in the training battles. We are impressed." "Thank you, General," Hyun-woo replied. "Our people are ready to learn and fight." Captain Yoonbi Kim looked at her screens. "Sir, we're approaching the jump point to the outer rim. All human ships report ready." The outer rim was where the Void Swarm had been attacking. It was far from Earth and the other Coalition worlds. Hyun-woo had never been so far from home. None of the humans had. "Begin jump sequence," Hyun-woo ordered. Space around them began to twist and bend. Colors that had no names flowed past the windows. This was how ships traveled between stars, by jumping through hyperspace. The humans had learned this technology from the Coalition only 50 years ago. When the jump ended, they were in a system that looked broken. Where planets should have been, there were only floating rocks. The star itself looked sick, flickering like a dying light bulb. "By the ancestors," whispered Lieutenant Yoo-jin Han, who worked with communications. "What happened here?" "The Void Swarm," Zeftar's voice came through the speakers. "This was the Keth Moran system. 5 billion beings lived here just 2 months ago." Hyun-woo felt sick. He had seen pictures, but seeing the real destruction was different. "How do we fight something that can do this?" "With courage and unity," said Zeftar. "The swarm feeds on fear and division. But together, we are stronger." Chief Engineer Woo Sung Lim was checking his systems. "Admiral, our weapons are charged and ready. The new energy shields the Velthari gave us are working perfectly." The Coalition had shared many technologies with humanity. Better weapons, stronger, shields, faster engines. They said it was because humans showed such promise. Hyunwoo was grateful for their help. Contacts on long-range sensors, reported Captain Yunbi Kim. Multiple ships approaching from the asteroid field. On the screen, dark shapes moved between the floating rocks. They looked like bugs, long and thin with too many legs. As they got closer, everyone could see they were made of some black metal that seemed to eat light. Void Swarm fighters, Zeftar announced. All ships, prepare for battle. The Coalition fleet spread out in a complex pattern. The humans tried to follow, but their ships were slower to respond. Hyunwoo watched as beautiful beams of light shot between the Coalition ships and the dark enemy vessels. "Where should we attack?" Dong-Ho Lee asked. "Follow the Mordan Third Fleet," Zeftar replied. "Learn by watching, brave humans." The battle was like nothing the humans had ever seen. The Coalition ships moved like dancers, spinning and diving through space. Their weapons were precise and deadly, but the Void Swarm fought back with weapons that seemed to make space itself sick. "Admiral," called Captain Hai Rin Moon from her ship, the Busan Defender, "my crew is getting strange readings from those swarm weapons. They're not just destroying matter, they're doing something else." Before anyone could answer, 3 swarm ships broke away from the main fight. They headed straight for the human fleet. "All human ships, prepare to engage," Hyunwoo ordered. The human weapons were simpler than the Coalition's, but they hit hard. The first swarm ship exploded in a ball of green fire. The second one twisted away, but Captain Kim's expert flying kept the human ships on target. "Gotcha," she said as her ship's main gun tore through the enemy's hull. The third swarm ship did something unexpected. Instead of fighting, it seemed to scan the human ships with beams of dark light. Then it fled back to the asteroid field. "Interesting," said Zeftar over the communication system. "The swarm rarely retreats. Your human tactics must have surprised them." The battle continued for 3 hours. When it was over, the Coalition had won. 20 swarm ships were destroyed, and only a few Coalition vessels were damaged. No human ships were lost. "Well done, humans," General Tulmak said. "Your fighting spirit is strong. The way you protected each other was impressive." Dr. Sujin Choi was studying the data from the battle. "The swarm ships seemed very interested in our technology," she reported. "They scanned us more than they attacked us." "That is normal," Zeftar explained. "The swarm tries to understand its enemies, but do not worry. Your ships performed well today." As the fleet prepared to jump to the next system, Hyunwoo felt proud of his people. The Coalition leaders had praised their courage and quick thinking. "Humanity was proving itself worthy of its place among the stars, sir," said Lieutenant Eugene Han quietly. "I'm picking up some strange communication patterns between the Coalition ships. The signals are encrypted in a way I've never seen." "Probably just military coordination," Hyunwoo replied. "We still have a lot to learn about how they operate." The young lieutenant nodded, but she looked worried. "Yes, sir, it's just they started these communications right after we engaged the swarm." Chief Engineer Woo Sung Lim was also checking his systems. "Admiral, something's been bothering me. During the fight, I detected what looked like scanning beams coming from Coalition ships. They were pointed at us, not the enemy." Hyunwoo frowned. "Are you sure?" "Pretty sure, sir. But maybe they were just making sure our new shields were working properly." Captain Yunbi Kim overheard the conversation. "The Coalition has been very helpful," she said. "They've given us so much technology and knowledge. I'm sure they just want to make sure we're safe." as the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, following their alien allies to the next battle. None of them knew they were already being studied. The Coalition was indeed interested in human tactics and technology, but not for the reasons the humans believed. In the crystal halls of the Velthari, command ship Admiral Zeftar was speaking to his officers in their true language, one the humans had never heard. "The specimens continue to surprise us," Zeftar said. "Their adaptability exceeds all projections. This may require accelerating the timeline." "Should we recommend immediate termination?" asked one of his officers. "Not yet," Zeftar replied, watching the human ships on his screens. "Let them prove their full capabilities first. The Research Council wants complete data before we proceed with the cleansing." Behind them, in the depths of space, more Void Swarm ships waited in hidden fleets. Ships that looked exactly like the ones they had just fought, but these bore the secret markings of the Galactic Defense Coalition. Fleet Admiral Jin-Ho Kang was having trouble sleeping. For 3 months, the human fleet had fought alongside the Coalition against the Void Swarm. They had won every battle, but something felt wrong. He stood in his private office aboard the command ship New Seoul, staring at reports that made no sense. "Admiral," came a voice from his door. Lieutenant Yujin Han entered, carrying a data pad. Her face looked worried. "I need to show you something." Jin-Ho gestured to a chair. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "I've been monitoring all communications during our battles," she said. "The Coalition ships are using secret channels that they think we can't detect, but our new equipment can pick up some of their signals." She handed him the data pad. On the screen were dozens of message logs between Coalition ships. They were all encrypted, but Yu Jin had managed to decode parts of them. "Look at this one," she said, pointing to a message sent during their last battle. It was sent from the Velthari command ship to all Coalition vessels right before we engaged the swarm. Jin-Ho read the partial translation. "Specimens performing within expected parameters. Continue observation. Do not interfere with human tactical decisions." "Specimens?" Jin-Ho felt cold. "They're calling us specimens?" "There's more," Yu Jin said. "Here's another message from after the battle." She scrolled to a new entry. "Test subject showing remarkable adaptability. Recommend extending observation period before proceeding to next phase." Before Jin-Ho could respond, his communication system beeped. It was Chief Engineer Woo-Sung Lim calling from the engine room. "Admiral, you need to come down here right away." Woo-Sung's voice sounded urgent. "I found something in our systems that shouldn't be there." Jin-Ho and Yu-Jin hurried to the engine room. Woo-Sung met them near the main power core. His usually calm face looked angry and scared. "Show me," Jin-Ho said. Woo-Sung led them to a section of the ship's computer systems. "I was doing routine maintenance when I found these," he said, pointing to small devices attached to the ship's main data lines. "They're not human technology." Jin-Ho examined the devices. They were small and crystal-like, similar to Velthari technology. "What do they do?" "They're copying everything," Woo-Sung said. "Every order you give, every battle plan we make, every piece of human technology we use, it's all being recorded and transmitted." "To who?" Yu-Jin asked. "To the Coalition," Woo-Sung replied. "I checked with the other ships. They all have these devices. The Coalition has been watching everything we do since we joined them." Jin-Ho felt sick. "How long have these been here?" "Since the Coalition upgraded our ships with their technology," Woo-Sung said. "They weren't just giving us better weapons and shields. They were planting spy devices." A new voice came from the doorway. "Admiral, we have a problem." It was Captain Hai-Rin Moon. She commanded one of the human scout ships. Her face was pale. "What now?" Jin-Ho asked. "I just returned from a reconnaissance. Mission to the Zeta-4 system," she said. "The Coalition told us it was destroyed by the Void Swarm last week. But Admiral, that system isn't destroyed. It's full of Coalition research stations." Jin-Ho stared at her. "That's impossible. We saw the reports. Zeta-4 was listed as completely consumed by the swarm." "The reports were lies," Hye-Rin said. "I have video proof. There are massive research facilities there, and they're not studying the Void Swarm. They're studying us." She handed Jin-Ho a small recording device. On the tiny screen, he could see space stations that looked like giant laboratories. But the most shocking thing was what was docked at these stations. Captured human ships from colonies that were supposed to be missing. "Those are ships from the New Harmony Colony Expedition," Jin-Ho whispered. "They disappeared 6 months ago. The Coalition said the Void Swarm got them." "They're not destroyed," Hye-Rin said. "They're being taken apart and studied. I saw human prisoners being moved between the stations." Lieutenant Yu Jin was checking her datapad again. "Admiral, I'm seeing new communication patterns. The Coalition ships are preparing for something big." Before Jin-Ho could ask what, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. "Captain Yunbi." Kim's voice came over the speakers. "Admiral, to the bridge immediately. We have multiple Void Swarm contacts approaching from all directions." They ran to the bridge. On the main screen, Jin-Ho could see hundreds of dark ships emerging from hyperspace. It was the largest swarm force they had ever encountered. "Coalition fleet, prepare for battle," came Admiral Zeftar's voice over the communication system. "This will be a difficult fight." But as Jin-Ho watched the battle begin, he noticed something wrong. The Coalition ships were moving in a pattern that looked almost rehearsed. Their weapons were hitting the swarm ships, but the explosions looked different, smaller, less damaging. "Yu Jin," he said quietly, "are you recording this battle?" "Yes, sir." "Captain Kim, move us closer to the Mordan fleet. I want to see something." As the new Soul moved through the battle, Jin-Ho used the ship's powerful sensors to examine the fight more closely. What he saw made his blood freeze. The Void Swarm weapons that hit Coalition ships caused bright flashes and sparks, but the ships themselves weren't really damaged. Meanwhile, when swarm weapons hit human ships, they caused real destruction. "The battle is fake," he whispered. "Sir?" Captain Kim asked. "The Coalition and the Void Swarm are working together," Jin-Ho said louder. "This whole war is a lie." As if they had heard him, 3 swarm ships suddenly broke away from the fake battle. They headed straight for the human fleet with weapons that glowed much brighter than before. "All human ships, emergency evasive action," Jin-Ho ordered. "This is not a drill." The swarm ships opened fire with weapons that were clearly real. The human frigate Incheon's Pride exploded in a ball of fire. 23 brave humans died instantly. "Coalition fleet, assist the humans," Jin-Ho called over the communication system. "We are engaged with the main swarm force," Zeftar replied. "You must handle the smaller group alone." But Jin-Ho could see that the Coalition ships were barely fighting. They were positioning themselves to watch the humans struggle against the 3 swarm attackers. "They want to see how we fight when we're desperate," Captain Kim realized. "And they want to test their weapons on us," Woo-Sung added from his station. "The human fleet worked together to destroy the 3 swarm ships, but not before losing 2 more vessels." As the fake battle ended, Jin-Ho noticed something else. The destroyed swarm ships dissolved into dust instead of leaving debris like normal ships would. "Sir," Yu Jin said quietly, "I'm detecting high-energy transmissions from all Coalition ships. They're sending detailed battle reports somewhere." "Where?" The signals are going to multiple locations, some to Coalition homeworlds, but others— She paused and checked her readings again. Others are going to coordinates in Void Swarm territory. That night, Jin-Ho called a secret meeting with his most trusted officers. They met in a shielded room where the Coalition spy devices couldn't hear them. "We need to face the truth," he told them. "The Coalition has been lying to us from the beginning. The Void Swarm isn't our enemy. We are being tested and studied like laboratory animals." Captain Hiram Moon spoke up. "If the Coalition and the Swarm are working together, then what's their real goal?" Dr. Soo-Jin Choi, who had been quiet during the meeting, finally spoke. "I think I know," she said sadly. "For months I've been sharing human biological data with Coalition scientists. They said it was to help protect us from swarm bioweapons. But now I realize they were studying us to find our weaknesses." "Weaknesses for what?" Jin-Ho asked. "For when they decide we're too dangerous to live," Soo-Jin replied. "I've heard them talking about evolutionary threats and aggressive species management." "I thought they were talking about the swarm, but they were talking about us." Chief Engineer Woo-Sung Lim was examining the spy devices they had removed from the ship's systems. "These things have been recording everything. Our weapons, our tactics, our technology, even our medical information. They know everything about us." "But why the deception?" Captain Kim asked. "Why not just attack us directly?" Lieutenant Yu-Jin had been analyzing more intercepted communications. "Because they needed to see how we fight," she said. "They needed to know our full capabilities before they make their move. From what I can tell, humanity isn't the first species they've done this to." The room fell silent as everyone realized what that meant. "How many other species have they tested?" Jin-Ho asked. "I found references to at least 7 others in the communications I've decoded," Yu-Jin replied. "Species that supposedly were destroyed by the Void Swarm, but the messages suggest they were actually eliminated by the Coalition." Dr. Soo-Jin was looking through her research notes. "The biosamples they asked me to provide, they weren't just studying our biology. They were developing weapons specifically designed to kill humans." Jin-Ho stood up. "We need to warn Earth and the colonies. We need to—" Alarm suddenly filled the room. Captain Kim checked her communication device. "Admiral," she said with terror in her voice, "we're receiving emergency signals from the Sol system. Earth is under attack by a massive Void Swarm fleet." Jin-Ho felt the world spinning around him. "How is that possible? Earth is hundreds of light years from the front lines." Yu-Jin was frantically working on her datapad. "Sir, I'm tracking the source of the attack fleet. They didn't come from—" Commander Taemin Yoon was supposed to be leading a routine patrol when his world ended. His ship, the Daigu's Honor, had just exited hyperspace near the human colony of New Busan when the impossible happened. "Sir," called his communications. "Officer, I'm getting emergency signals from the colony. They're under attack." Taemin looked at his screens in confusion. "That can't be right. New Busan is deep in Coalition space. It's one of our safest colonies." Through the bridge windows, he could see the planet New Busan in the distance. It should have been a peaceful blue-green world with orbital stations and shipping traffic. Instead, it was burning. Massive dark ships hung in space around the planet, like hungry sharks. They were firing continuous beams of energy down at the surface. Where the beams touched, the land turned black and dead. Cities that had taken decades to build were disappearing in minutes. "Those are Void Swarm ships," whispered his tactical officer. "How did they get here?" Taemin was about to order his small patrol fleet to attack when more ships appeared. These were Coalition vessels. Velthari crystal ships, and Mordan bio ships. Taemin felt relief for a moment, thinking help had arrived. But the coalition ships didn't attack the swarm. Instead, they moved into formation around them like escorts. "What are they doing?" Taemin asked. His question was answered when the coalition ships opened fire, not on the swarm, but on the human evacuation ships trying to escape the planet. "By all the gods," Taemin whispered. "They're working together." Say, New Busan's surface, General So Young Kwok was fighting a battle she couldn't win. Her ground forces had been preparing for a parade to celebrate the colony's 10th anniversary when the attack began. Now she was trying to evacuate 2 million civilians while swarm bioweapons dissolved everything they touched. "All units, fall. Back to evacuation point 7, she ordered through her radio. "The spaceport is gone. I repeat, the spaceport is completely gone." The sky above her was full of burning ships, human transport vessels that had tried to evacuate civilians. They were being shot down by coalition fighters that were supposed to be protecting them. "General," called her aide, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Zeftar of the Velthari fleet." "Put him through," So Young said, hoping for explanation or rescue. The crystal being's image appeared on her field communicator. "General, Kwok, you and your forces are ordered to surrender immediately." "Surrender?" So Young couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Admiral, we're under attack by the Void Swarm. We need immediate assistance." "You are under attack by coalition forces," Zeftar corrected her calmly. "The Void Swarm is simply our tool. Humanity has been classified as an evolutionary threat to galactic stability. Your species is to be terminated." So Young felt ice in her veins. "You're lying. We're allies. We've fought beside you for months." "You have been test subjects," Zeftar replied. "Very useful ones. We now understand your military capabilities completely. Surrender, and your death will be quick." So Young cut the transmission and looked around at her burning world. In the distance, she could see swarm ground units moving through the city. They looked like giant insects made of black metal, and they were hunting down every human they could find. "All units," she broadcast on all frequencies. "This is General Kwok. The Coalition has betrayed us. I repeat, the Coalition are not our allies. They are working with the Void Swarm to destroy humanity. Fight them like the enemies they are." In Simodi, space above the planet, Commander Taemin was making the same realization. His small patrol fleet was no match for the massive force attacking New Busan, but he couldn't just watch. "All ships," he ordered, "attack Pattern 7. Target the coalition vessels first. They're the real enemy." His 3 ships dove toward the enemy fleet. Their weapons were small compared to the massive ships they faced, but human anger gave them courage. The patrol ship Gwangju's Revenge managed to destroy a Mordan frigate before being torn apart by return fire. But the attack served another purpose. In his last transmission, the captain of the Gwangju's Revenge sent out a data burst containing video proof of the Coalition's betrayal. The signal was picked up by communication relays throughout the sector. Light years away, Dr. Jae-hoon Nam was working late in his intelligence office when the transmission arrived. As humanity's top codebreaker, he had been studying Coalition communications for months. But this new data made everything clear. "My God," he whispered, as he watched the video of Coalition ships destroying human evacuation vessels. "It's all been a lie." He immediately began searching through all the intelligence data he had collected. Hidden in the massive files of Coalition communications, he found the truth that had been there all along. The Coalition had been planning humanity's destruction since first contact. Every human colony, every ship, every technological development had been carefully catalogued. The war against the Void Swarm had been created specifically to study how humans fought. In one intercepted message, he found the most horrible truth of all. A communication from the Coalition Research Council to Admiral Zeftar. The human specimens show dangerous levels of adaptability and aggression. Their rate of technological development exceeds all safe parameters. Recommend immediate implementation of Protocol 7. Dr. Jae-hoon had seen references to Protocol 7 before, but now he understood what it meant. He accessed the Coalition's classified database. His months of studying their systems had given him the access codes. Protocol 7 was genocide. The document was thousands of pages long, detailing how the Coalition had eliminated problematic species throughout the galaxy, species that showed too much potential, that might challenge Coalition dominance, or that simply didn't fit their vision of galactic order. Humanity was just the latest target. The document listed 43 species that had been destroyed over the past 1,000 years. Each one had been classified as an evolutionary threat and eliminated using the same method. Fake alien invasions that allowed the Coalition to study their enemies before destroying them completely. But there was more. Hidden in the deepest files, Jae-hoon found evidence of something even worse. The Coalition wasn't just killing dangerous species, they were experimenting on them first. Video files showed human prisoners from colonies that had supposedly been destroyed months ago. They were being used as test subjects for biological weapons. Coalition scientists were studying human DNA, human psychology, human pain responses. In one video, he recognized Captain Min-jae Song, who had been listed as killed in action during a Void Swarm attack. The captain was very much alive, but he was strapped to a medical table while Coalition scientists injected him with various substances. "We need to understand how they think," one of the alien scientists was saying. "Their mental patterns are unlike anything we've encountered. Even under extreme stress, they continue to plan and fight." Another scientist, this one looking like a walking tree, responded, "Their emotional bonds to each other are remarkably strong. Even isolated prisoners attempt to protect others of their species. This could be useful for control purposes." Jae-hoon turned off the video. He had seen enough. Humanity wasn't just facing extinction. They were facing torture and experimentation first. He immediately began transmitting his findings to every human ship and colony he could reach, but he knew it might already be too late. The coordinated attacks had been planned for months. As he worked, reports came in from across human space. The colony of New Sol, destroyed. The mining station at Kepler 442, gone. The research outpost at Wolf 359, no survivors. But the worst news came from Earth itself. Admiral Hyun-woo Park, who had trusted the Coalition so completely, was leading the defense of humanity's home world. His message was brief and filled with static. "This is Admiral Park. Earth is under massive attack. Coalition forces have dropped biological weapons in major cities. The weapons are designed specifically to kill humans. Other Earth life forms are unaffected. Billions are already dead. We trusted them completely. They know everything about our defenses." The transmission cut off. Dr. Jae-hoon sat in his office, surrounded by evidence of the greatest betrayal in human history. Outside his window, he could see Coalition ships approaching his research station. They were coming to silence him, just like they had silenced so many others. But humanity was not like the other species the Coalition had destroyed. Humans learned from betrayal. They adapted, they remembered, and most importantly, they never forgave. As the coalition boarding parties prepared to enter his station, Jae-hoon activated one final transmission. It wasn't a call for help. Help wasn't coming. Instead, it was a message of rage and promise. This is Dr. Jae-hoon Nam, speaking to any humans who can hear this. The coalition has betrayed us. They have murdered billions of our people. They have tortured our prisoners. They believe they have broken us. He could hear the coalition soldiers cutting through his door. But they have made one mistake. They think that by studying us, they understand us. They think that by watching us fight aliens, they know how humans fight. But they have never seen humans fight for survival. They have never seen humans fight. With nothing left to lose, the door exploded inward. Coalition soldiers in advanced armor poured into the room. "Humanity will remember this day," Jae-hoon said as the soldiers raised their weapons, and Admiral Kyung-ho Shin floated in the darkness between stars, waiting to die. His ship, the Ulsan's Defiance, was one of only 12 human vessels that had escaped the massacre at New Busan. Around him, the survivors of humanity's once proud fleet drifted in the cold emptiness of interstellar space. "Admiral," called Captain Da Yun-jung from her badly damaged frigate, "we're picking up coalition search patterns in the next system. They're hunting for survivors." Kyung-ho looked at his tactical display. Red dots showed coalition ships spreading out across nearby star systems like a web. They were being methodical, checking every possible hiding place. "How many of us are left?" he asked quietly. Major Il-sung Ko, whose marine transport had somehow survived the attack, answered over the communication channel. 12 ships from the fleet. Maybe 30,000 military personnel total. As for civilians, his voice trailed off. They all knew the answer. Earth's population had been 8 billion. The human colonies had held another 2 billion. Now maybe 50,000 humans were left alive in all the galaxy. "Sir," came a new voice. It was Dr. Hae-won Song, the chief science officer who had been aboard the research vessel Busan University. "I've been analyzing the weapon signatures from the attacks. The coalition didn't just study our technology, they improved it and turned it against us." Kyung-ho activated his secure communication system so all surviving ships could hear. "Explain." "The energy weapons they used were based on our own particle beam technology, but enhanced with their crystal matrices. The biological weapons were derived from human medical research we shared with them. Even their ship movements used tactical patterns they learned from watching us fight." Captain Da Yun-jung's voice was bitter. "So they used our own knowledge to kill us?" "Yes," Dr. Hae-won replied. "But that also means I understand how their weapons work. Given time and resources, I might be able to develop countermeasures." "What resources?" Major Il-sung asked. "We're hiding in empty space with whatever supplies we could grab during the Seite retreat." Admiral Kyung-ho had been thinking the same thing. 12 ships against the entire Galactic Defense Coalition. No bases, no supply lines, no reinforcements. It seemed hopeless. But then he remembered something his grandfather had told him about the Korean War, centuries ago. Sometimes, the old man had said, when you have nothing left, you discover what you're really capable of. "All ships, listen carefully," Kyung-ho announced. "The coalition thinks they've destroyed us. They think the survivors are broken and helpless. That's going to be their first mistake." He brought up a star chart on his main screen. "There's an abandoned mining system 40 light-years from here. The hectare species used to work there before they went extinct. According to the records, They were another species that was destroyed by the Void Swarm. Captain Da-Un understood immediately. You think the Coalition killed them too? I'm certain of it, Kyung-ho said. Which means their mining equipment might still be there. And more importantly, the Coalition won't expect us to hide in a dead system. The 12 human ships made the jump to the Hector system. What they found there confirmed their worst fears and gave them their first hope. The system was full of empty cities on dead worlds. But the mining stations were still functional, powered by automated systems that had been running for decades. In the abandoned facilities, they found evidence of what had really happened to the Hector. Look at this, Dr. Haywan said as she examined alien computer records. The Hector were developing new mining technology that could extract resources from asteroid belts. Their efficiency rates were increasing rapidly. Too rapidly for Coalition comfort, Major Il-sung observed. Looking at Coalition intelligence, reports they found in the system's communication archives. The pattern was always the same. A species would show signs of rapid technological development. The Coalition would make contact, offering friendship and alliance. Then, when they learned enough about the species, they would engineer their destruction. 43 species, Captain Da-Un read from a Coalition database they had hacked. All destroyed over the past 1,000 years, all for the same reason: they were becoming too advanced too quickly. But the Hector had left humanity a gift. Their mining technology was incredibly advanced, and it was compatible with human engineering principles. Within weeks, the survivors had converted the mining stations into hidden bases. We can't fight them in open battle, Admiral Kyung-ho told his officers during their first strategy meeting in the converted asteroid base. They outnumber us 1,000,000 to 1, but we can hurt them in ways they don't expect. Major Il-sung was studying Coalition supply routes. Their fleets need regular resupply, especially the bioships that require living material. If we could disrupt those supply lines— Exactly, Kyung-ho said. We're not trying to win a war anymore. We're trying to make them pay for what they did. Dr. Haywan had been working on something special. I've been reverse engineering some of the technology we captured from disabled Coalition ships. I think I can modify our weapons to be more effective against their shields. Captain Da-Un leaned forward. How much more effective? Well, Dr. Haywan smiled for the first time since the massacre. Let's just say they're going to be very surprised. Their first target was a Coalition supply convoy heading to the Outer Rim. It consisted of 3 Mordan bioships carrying food and medical supplies for Coalition forces hunting human survivors. Captain Da-Un led the attack in her modified frigate Soul's Vengeance. Her ship had been upgraded with Hector mining lasers that Dr. Haywan had converted into weapons. Remember, Admiral Kyung-ho told her over the communication system, this isn't about military victory. This is about sending a message. The attack itself was perfectly executed. Dae-Yun's ship appeared from hyperspace directly behind the convoy. The modified mining lasers cut through the bioship's organic hulls like they were made of paper. All 3 ships were destroyed before they could send a distress signal. But the message came next. Before jumping away, Da-Un's ship broadcast a transmission on all Coalition frequencies. This is Captain Da-Un-jung of the Human Resistance. You murdered our families. You tortured our people. You made one mistake. You left some of us alive. We're coming for you. The broadcast included video evidence of Coalition crimes that Dr. Jae-hoon Nam had transmitted before his death. Images of human prisoners being experimented on. Records of Coalition planning for humanity's genocide. proof that the Void Swarm was a coalition weapon. Do you think they'll take it seriously? Major Il-sung asked when Da-Yun returned to the base. His answer came 3 days later when coalition forces began massive retaliation attacks against neutral species who might be hiding human survivors. The coalition was scared, and scared enemies made mistakes. Their second operation was more ambitious. A coalition research station was studying captured human technology in the Kepler system. Admiral Kyung-ho led this attack personally. The research station was heavily defended, but the humans had advantages the coalition didn't expect. Hector stealth technology made their ships nearly invisible. Modified human weapons could penetrate coalition shields. And most importantly, the humans fought with a fury the coalition had never encountered. For Earth, Kyung-ho whispered as his ship's weapons tore through the station's defenses. Inside the station, they found horrors that made them glad they had decided to fight. Thousands of human prisoners in experimentation chambers. Living humans, being dissected to understand human biology. Children being used to test psychological torture techniques. Major Il-sung led the rescue team. "Get everyone out," he ordered his Marines. "Every single person." They saved 800 human prisoners from the research station. But more importantly, they captured the station's entire database of coalition research. Dr. Hae-won spent weeks studying the captured data. What she found changed everything. "They're not just killing us randomly," she announced during a base meeting. "They have a specific plan. The coalition is preparing to expand beyond this galaxy, and they see advanced species as threats to their expansion." She brought up a galactic map on the main screen. "Look at this. Every species they've destroyed was located near potential jump points to other galaxies. They're clearing a path." Admiral Kyung-ho studied the map. "So humanity wasn't targeted because we were dangerous? We were targeted because we were in their way?" "Exactly. And according to their research, they plan to eliminate at least 20 more species before beginning their expansion." Captain Da-un looked at the list of targeted species. "Some of these are coalition members. They're planning to betray their own allies. Just like they betrayed us," Major Il-sung said grimly. That's when Admiral Kyung-ho made the decision that would change everything. "We're not just fighting for revenge anymore," he announced. "We're fighting to save the galaxy from the coalition, and we're going to need help." Over the following months, the human resistance began reaching out to other species. They shared the evidence of coalition crimes. They warned about future betrayals. They offered alliance to anyone willing to fight. The response was mixed. Many species were too afraid of the coalition to help. Others didn't believe the evidence, but some listened. The first to join them were the survivors of species the coalition had thought extinct. Hidden Grow. Colonel Sang-hyuk Bae no longer looked entirely human. Standing in the modification chamber of the hidden base, he examined his reflection in the polished metal wall. His left arm had been replaced with advanced Hector crystal technology that could interface directly with any computer system. His eyes had been enhanced with Velnari bio-optics that let him see in complete darkness and detect energy signatures from miles away. "How do you feel?" asked Dr. Hae-won Song, monitoring his vital signs from the control room. Sang-hyuk flexed his crystal arm. Information flowed directly into his brain. Power levels, system status, targeting data. "Different," he said, "but ready." This was the first successful test of Project Hunter, the human resistance's plan to create soldiers who could fight the coalition on equal terms. Using captured coalition technology and biological samples from destroyed species, they were building something new. "The modifications are stable," Dr. Hae-won announced to Admiral Kyung-ho Shin, who was watching from the observation deck. "We can begin converting volunteers immediately." Kyung-ho felt mixed emotions as he looked at Sang-hyuk. The young colonel had volunteered to be the first test subject, knowing he might die in the process. Now he was something between human and machine, but his eyes still held the burning hatred that drove them all. "How many volunteers do we have?" Kyung-ho asked. "More than we can handle," replied Major Il-sung-ko. "Every survivor wants to become a hunter. They all want to be able to fight back effectively." Captain Da-eun-jung entered the observation room, carrying a data pad with their latest intelligence. "Admiral, we've identified our first target for the hunters, a coalition research facility in the Vega system. They're holding 300 human prisoners and developing new bioweapons." Kyung-ho studied the facility plans. It was heavily defended, with energy shields, automated weapons, and a garrison of coalition troops. A normal human attack would be suicide. "What do you think, Colonel?" he asked Sang-hyuk through the communication system. Sang-hyuk was already studying the facility layout through his enhanced vision. His crystal arm interfaced with the base's computer systems, pulling up detailed schematics and defense patterns. "Give me 12 other hunters," he said. "We can take it." 2 weeks later, Colonel Sang-hyuk Bae led the first hunter unit into combat. His team included 12 volunteers who had undergone the same modifications: enhanced bodies that could survive in space without suits, cybernetic interfaces that could hack coalition systems, and bioengineered organs that could process coalition toxins. Captain Yuri An commanded their transport ship, the Ghost of New Seoul. Her vessel had been modified with Hector stealth technology that made it nearly invisible to coalition sensors. Approaching the Vega facility, Yuri reported. "I'm detecting heavy patrol activity, but they haven't spotted us." The facility hung in space like a massive spider, its arms reaching out in all directions. Coalition ships moved around it in regular patterns, but the hunters had studied these patterns for weeks. "Remember," Sang-hyuk told his team, "we're not just here to rescue prisoners. We're here to send a message." The hunters launched from Yuri's ship in individual stealth pods. They moved through space like shadows, their enhanced bodies protected by biosuits that made them almost impossible to detect. The first coalition guard never knew what hit him. Sang-hyuk's crystal arm interfaced with the guard's weapon systems, turning them off before the alien even realized he was under attack. The guard died silently, and the hunter team was inside the facility. "Security systems neutralized," reported Hunter Jin-A Park, whose bioenhancements included the ability to mimic coalition biological signatures. "I'm showing as a Velthari technician on their internal scanners." The team moved through the facility like ghosts. Their enhanced senses could detect coalition life forms through walls. Their cybernetic interfaces could hack any door or security system. In 30 minutes, they reached the prison levels. What they found there made even the modified hunters feel sick. "My God," whispered Hunter Tae-ho Kim as they looked into the experimentation chambers. Human prisoners were strapped to tables while coalition scientists tested various torture devices. In one room, they were exposing humans to different atmospheric compositions to see how long they could survive. In another, they were testing how much pain a human could endure before losing consciousness. "Free them all," Sang-hyuk ordered. "Every single person." But liberation was only part of their mission. While his team rescued the prisoners, Sang-hyuk accessed the facility's main computer system. His crystal arm interfaced directly with the coalition database, downloading everything. What he found was worse than they had imagined. The coalition wasn't just experimenting on humans, they were trying to replicate human abilities. They had discovered that human adaptability was unique in the galaxy, and they wanted to steal it for themselves. They're trying to enhance their own soldiers with human DNA, Sang-hyuk reported to Admiral Kyung-ho. They want to create coalition troops with human creativity and problem-solving skills. But they had also found something else. The coalition's expansion plans were more advanced than anyone had suspected. They were already sending scout fleets to nearby galaxies, and they planned to begin their conquest within 5 years. Upload everything to our database, Kyung-ho ordered. Then destroy the facility. Sang-hyuk smiled grimly. With pleasure. The hunters had planted explosive charges throughout the facility while rescuing the prisoners. But before destroying it, they left their own message. Using the facility's communication system, they broadcast a signal across the galaxy. The message was simple but terrifying for any coalition forces listening. This is Colonel Sang-hyuk Bai of the Human Hunters. You thought you destroyed us. You were wrong. We have evolved beyond what you can imagine. We are coming for every facility, every ship, every leader responsible for our people's deaths. You wanted to study human adaptability? You're about to learn what it really means. The facility exploded in a fireball that could be seen from 3 star systems away. But the real explosion was in coalition military planning rooms across the galaxy. What are human hunters? Admiral Zeftar asked his intelligence officers after receiving the broadcast. Unknown, sir, his aide replied nervously. Our records show no surviving human military units capable of such an operation. Then how did they destroy the Vega facility? We don't know, sir. The attack was perfectly coordinated, and our security systems were hacked from the inside. It's like they had technology we've never seen before. What the Coalition didn't understand was that the Hunters were indeed using technology they'd never seen. Their own technology, combined with human ingenuity and the desperate knowledge of extinct species. Admiral Changmin Seo was overseeing the development of more Hunter units back at the main base. The success of the Vega mission had convinced him that this was humanity's path to survival. How many can we convert? He asked Dr. Haewon. We have enough captured Coalition biotechnology to enhance about 200 soldiers, she replied. But Admiral, I should warn you. The process is irreversible. Once someone becomes a Hunter, they can never be fully human again. Changmin looked at the volunteers lined up for conversion. Men and women who had lost everything to Coalition betrayal. They weren't seeking to become human again. They were seeking to become something that could protect what remained of humanity. Dado. It, he ordered. Dr. Mikyung-oh had been working on a different kind of enhancement, psychological warfare techniques that exploited Coalition psychology. She had studied captured Coalition personnel and discovered interesting weaknesses. Their species have been peaceful for so long that they have no resistance to fear, she explained to the command staff. They literally don't know how to process terror or uncertainty. We can use this against them. Her first test was brilliant in its simplicity. Hunter teams began leaving survivors during their raids, Coalition soldiers who had been knocked unconscious and left with recordings of their comrades' deaths. When these soldiers woke up, they found themselves alone with evidence that something unstoppable had been there. The psychological impact spread like a virus through Coalition forces. Soldiers began refusing assignments to areas where Hunters had been spotted. Entire fleets started demanding reinforcements for routine patrols. They're creating ghost stories about us, Mi-kyung reported with satisfaction. Coalition troops are afraid to sleep, afraid to go on patrol, afraid to be alone. Fear is becoming our most effective weapon. But the Hunters' greatest success was yet to come. Captain Yurian had been working with captured Coalition stealth technology to create something unprecedented. Ships that could infiltrate Coalition space completely undetected. "It's ready," she announced during a command meeting. "I call it the Phantom Fleet." The new ships looked like Coalition vessels from the outside, but inside they were pure human engineering enhanced with the best technology from extinct species. They could enter any Coalition system, dock at any Coalition station, and operate for months without being detected. With these ships, Admiral Kyung-ho realized, we can take the war to their home systems. Colonel Sang-hyuk and his hunter teams were already planning their next missions, but these wouldn't be rescue operations or raids on military targets. These General Dongwoo Ryu stood in the command center of the captured Coalition fortress, watching his tactical display with cold satisfaction. What had once been the Coalition's strongest military base in the Outer Rim was now a smoking ruin, its defenders either dead or fled in terror. "That's the 15th major base this month," reported Commander Silji Park, her hunter-enhanced eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "Coalition forces are abandoning entire sectors rather than face us." Dongwoo nodded approvingly. The systematic destruction of Coalition military infrastructure was proceeding ahead of schedule. Every base they captured yielded more intelligence about Coalition operations, and more importantly, more evidence of their crimes against extinct species. "Show me the casualty reports," he ordered. Sulgi activated a holographic display showing Coalition losses across the galaxy. The numbers were staggering, not just in ships and bases destroyed, but in personnel who had simply disappeared during hunter operations. 0 Coalition survivors in the last 12 operations, Sulgi reported with grim satisfaction. "Your orders about leaving no witnesses are being followed precisely." This was the new doctrine that Admiral Kyung-ho Shin had established after studying Coalition tactics. The Coalition had left no human survivors when they could help it. Humanity would return the favor. Dr. Ho-Jin Yu was working in the captured base's laboratory examining Coalition biological samples. His research had taken a dark turn since becoming a hunter. Where once he had sought to heal, now he sought to destroy with surgical precision. "The species-specific bioweapons are ready for deployment," he announced over the communication system. "I've created 17 different strains, each one designed to target a specific Coalition species." Captain Un-Young Kim reviewed the deployment plans from her command ship, the Soul's Vengeance. Her vessel was one of the new Phantom ships that could hunt Coalition fleets through hyperspace itself. "Dr. Ho-Jin, what's the expected effectiveness?" she asked. "Complete elimination within 72 hours of exposure," he replied matter-of-factly. "The toxins are designed to mimic natural diseases, so Coalition medical systems won't recognize them as weapons until it's too late." What made Dr. Ho-Jin's bioweapons particularly terrifying was that they had been developed using the Coalition's own research. Every biological sample the Coalition had taken from extinct species, every medical record they had stolen, every genetic profile they had compiled, all of it had been turned against them. "The irony is perfect," Admiral Changmin Seo observed, during their weekly strategy meeting. "They spent centuries collecting the biological data of species they plan to destroy. Now that data is being used to destroy them." But the bioweapons were only one part of the systematic campaign. Captain Un-Young Kim had been perfecting the art of hunting Coalition fleets in deep space. Her Phantom ships could track Coalition vessels through hyperspace and attack them when they were most vulnerable. "Target acquired," she reported during a typical hunt. "Coalition supply convoy heading to the Arcturus system. 3 heavy cruisers and 12 transports." Her ship, along with 5 other phantom vessels, materialized around the convoy like hungry sharks. The coalition ships never had a chance to send a distress signal. "Remember," Yoon Young told her crew as they opened fire, "we want their cargo, intact. The supplies they're carrying were stolen from the worlds they destroyed. The attack was over in minutes. The coalition warships were reduced to debris, but the transport vessels were captured intact. Inside, the hunters found medical supplies that had been manufactured on destroyed worlds, food stores taken from conquered colonies, and most importantly, data cores containing intelligence about coalition operations. But they also found something else that filled them with rage: cultural artifacts from extinct species. Art, music, literature, historical records, all stolen as trophies by coalition forces. "They didn't just kill these species," Captain Yoon Young said as she examined a beautiful crystal sculpture from the extinct Velnari civilization. "They erased them from history and kept pieces as souvenirs." This discovery led to a new objective in the systematic campaign. The hunters began targeting coalition museums, universities, and cultural centers, where artifacts from destroyed species were displayed or studied. Colonel Sang-hyuk Bai led the assault on the Great Museum of Coalition History on the Velthari, home world. The museum's exhibits told the story of the coalition's peaceful expansion across the galaxy, with entire wings dedicated to species lost to various catastrophes. "Look at this," said Hunter Jin-A Park as they moved through the museum's halls. "They have an entire display about humanity's tragic destruction by the Void Swarm. According to their version, they tried desperately to save us." Sang-hyuk studied the exhibit with disgust. It showed heroic coalition ships fighting valiantly against Void Swarm forces while human colonies burned in the background. The placard described humanity as a promising young species whose rapid development was cut short by alien invasion. "Burn it," he ordered. "Burn it all." But before destroying the museum, the hunters transmitted the truth to every world in the sector. Using the museum's own communication systems, they broadcast video evidence of coalition crimes alongside the lies displayed in the exhibits. "This is what really happened," Sang-hyuk announced, as images of coalition ships destroying human colonies played across every screen on the planet. "Your peaceful coalition is built on genocide and lies." The psychological impact was devastating. On world after world, coalition citizens began questioning their government's version of history. Some species started demanding investigations into the catastrophes that had befallen their former neighbors. Dr. Mi Kyung-oh had been monitoring coalition internal communications, and the results of the Truth Campaign exceeded all expectations. 17 coalition member species have filed formal requests for independent investigations, she reported. 3 species have discovered evidence that their own extinct neighbors were actually murdered by coalition forces. The Taklari have threatened to withdraw from the coalition entirely. But the coalition's response was predictable. Instead of admitting their crimes, they began propaganda campaigns blaming the terrorist attacks on human extremists who had been driven insane by their losses. "They're calling us monsters," Major Il-sung Ko observed. "Good," Admiral Kyung-ho replied. "Monsters are what their victims needed. Monsters are what we became." The systematic campaign entered its most devastating phase when Captain Yoon Young Kim discovered the location of the coalition's primary military command center. Hidden in a nebula far from any inhabited system, the fortress contained the central coordination network for all coalition military operations. "This is it," she told the assembled hunter commanders. Destroy this facility, and their ability to coordinate large-scale operations collapses. But the fortress was defended by the Coalition's most elite forces, ships and soldiers that had never been defeated in battle. It would be the largest operation the hunters had ever attempted. "We'll need everything," General Dongwu announced. "Every hunter unit, every phantom ship, every weapon we've developed." Dr. Ho Jin Yu prepared his most devastating bioweapons for the assault. Dr. Mi Kyung-oh planned psychological operations to sow confusion among the defenders. Captain Yuri An coordinated the Phantom Fleet that would deliver the attack force. "Remember," Admiral Kyung-ho told them before the operation began, "the Coalition has spent centuries believing they were untouchable. Today we prove them wrong." The assault on the command fortress was unlike anything seen in galactic history. Phantom ships materialized throughout the nebula, attacking from every direction at once. Hunter teams boarded the fortress through impossible infiltration routes, their enhanced abilities allowing them to survive in the deadly environment. Commander Sulgi Park led the assault on the fortress's main command center. Her team cut through Coalition defenses like they were made of paper, their hybrid technology proving superior to anything the Coalition could field. "Target the communication arrays," she ordered. "I want them blind and deaf." But the most devastating attack came from Dr. Ho Jin's bioweapons. Released into the fortress's life support systems, they spread through the facility with terrifying efficiency. Within hours, entire sections of the fortress fell silent. Admiral Zeftar, commanding the fortress's defense, watched his forces disintegrate with growing horror. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our technology is superior. Our numbers are greater. How are they winning?" His aide, one of the few Coalition officers still alive, provided the answer. "Because they're not fighting the way we expected, sir. They're using our own methods against us, but they're better at it." As the fortress fell around him, Zeftar realized the truth. The Coalition had created their own destroyers by betraying humanity. They had pushed a species known for adaptation and innovation to evolve beyond their wildest nightmares. "Send a message to all Coalition forces," he ordered with his dying breath. Tell them we should have finished the job when we had the chance." The capture of the command fortress marked the end of the Coalition's ability to fight, an organized war. Their military command structure was shattered. Their communication networks were compromised, and their forces, Admiral Junho Lim stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching the Velthari homeworld burn. Below them, the crystal cities that had stood for 10,000 years were melting under the heat of human plasma bombardment. This was no longer war. This was justice. "Admiral," reported Captain Youngmi Che from the tactical station, "all major population centers have been neutralized. Coalition industrial capacity on this world is now 0. Junho nodded grimly. The Velthari had been the primary architects of humanity's genocide. Their crystal technology had been used to create the weapons that murdered billions of humans. Now their world was paying the price. "Any survivors attempting to flee?" he asked. "Several. Transport ships tried to escape during the initial bombardment," Youngmi replied. "All were intercepted by hunter squadrons. No Coalition personnel escaped alive." This was the new reality across the galaxy. The Coalition's industrial worlds, the centers of their power for centuries, were being systematically destroyed. But unlike the Coalition's genocide campaign against humanity, the hunters made sure their enemies knew exactly why they were dying. Colonel Seong-ho Yang oversaw the liberation of the final Coalition prison camp in the Vega sector. His team of Enhanced soldiers moved through the facility with practiced efficiency, documenting every crime before destroying the evidence along with the perpetrators. "How many prisoners?" he asked his aide. 47 survivors from 12 different species," came the reply. "All were being used for biological experimentation. The coalition scientists were trying to replicate their genetic advantages." Seong Ho felt the familiar cold rage that drove all hunters. The coalition hadn't just murdered entire species. They had tortured the survivors to steal their biological secrets. Every discovery the hunters made only reinforced their conviction that the coalition deserved no mercy. "Document everything," he ordered. "I want complete records of what they did here." Dr. Hee-Jin Woo had been tasked with the most important mission of all, ensuring that the galaxy knew the truth about coalition crimes. From her mobile broadcast station, she transmitted evidence of genocide across every communication network in known space. "This is Dr. Hee-Jin Woo, broadcasting from the liberated territories," she announced during her daily transmission. "For centuries, the Galactic Defense Coalition has lied about their history. They told you that 43 species were destroyed by natural disasters, alien invasions, or internal conflicts. Today, we show you the truth." Her broadcasts included video footage from liberated coalition facilities, audio recordings of coalition leaders planning genocides, and testimonies from the few survivors of destroyed species. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. "The coalition didn't just commit these crimes," she continued. "They celebrated them. They collected trophies from the worlds they destroyed. They turned genocide into an art form." The response from neutral species across the galaxy was immediate and devastating for the coalition's remaining authority. One by one, coalition member species began withdrawing from the alliance, demanding explanations for the evidence they were seeing. 17 species have formally left the coalition, reported Intelligence Officer Commander Minho Park during the daily briefing. 23 others have stopped providing military support. The coalition government is collapsing faster than we're destroying it. But Admiral Jun Ho wasn't satisfied with political collapse. The coalition's leaders needed to face personal consequences for their crimes. "Status report on the war crimes trials," he requested. Dr. Hee-Jin activated her. "Display. We've captured and tried 237 coalition officials so far. All were found guilty of genocide and crimes against sentient species. All were executed according to the legal traditions of their victims. The trials themselves were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The hunters had established mobile courts that followed ancient legal traditions from extinct species. Coalition criminals were judged by the laws of the people they had murdered, ensuring that justice was served according to the victims' own cultural values." "What about the major war criminals?" Junho asked. "Admiral Zeftar is dead. Killed during the assault on the command fortress. General Tulmak was assassinated by Hunter Team Alpha 7, but we still have high-value targets remaining. The most wanted war criminal was Premier Kolvash of the Coalition Council, the ultimate architect of the genocide program. He had been hiding in a secret bunker deep beneath the Coalition capital world, protected by the most advanced defenses in the galaxy. Captain Young-Mi Che had been planning the assault on his bunker for weeks. "The facility is buried 2 kilometers underground," she explained during the mission briefing. "Energy shields, automated defenses, and a garrison of elite guards. He thinks he's untouchable." Colonel Sang-Hyuk Bai, now the most feared hunter in the galaxy, studied the facility plans with his enhanced vision. "Give me 20 hunters and Yuri's stealth ship. We'll bring him back alive for trial." But the mission to capture Premier Kolvash revealed something even worse than they had expected. His bunker wasn't just a hiding place. It was a research facility where he had been developing new weapons for a final solution to the human problem. "Look at this," said Hunter Ginny Park as they explored the bunker's laboratories. He was planning to release bioweapons that would kill every human in the galaxy, even the ones in hiding. The laboratory contained samples of human DNA from every colony that had been destroyed. Kolvash had been using this genetic material to create diseases that would target humans specifically, leaving other species unharmed. He calls it Project Final Cleansing, Ginny reported, reading from the computer files. According to these notes, he believed some humans might have survived the initial genocide. This was his backup plan. Colonel Sang-hyuk found Premier Kolvash cowering in his private chambers, surrounded by stolen artifacts from destroyed civilizations. The coalition leader was a massive creature that looked like a walking tree, his bark-like skin covered in medals celebrating his victories against extinct species. "You cannot judge me," Kolvash declared as the hunters dragged him from his hiding place. "I am Premier of the Galactic Defense Coalition. I have diplomatic immunity." Sang-hyuk's crystal arm interfaced with the bunker's communication systems, broadcasting their conversation across the galaxy. "The Coalition no longer exists," he replied coldly. "Your diplomatic immunity died with the billions of innocents you murdered." The trial of Premier Kolvash was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. For the first time, the architect of genocide faced justice in front of his victims' survivors. "You stand accused of ordering the systematic extermination of 43 sentient species," announced Dr. Hee-Jin Woo, serving as the chief prosecutor. "How do you plead?" "I plead necessity," Kolvash replied without shame. "Those species were evolutionary threats. Left unchecked, they would have challenged coalition stability and prevented galactic unity. The evidence presented against him was staggering. Video recordings of him ordering genocides, audio files of him laughing about the primitive reactions of dying species, documents showing his personal collection of trophies taken from destroyed worlds. But the most damning evidence came from his own research logs, where he had detailed his plans for the Coalition's expansion into other galaxies. According to these documents, Dr. Hee-Jin read aloud, "You plan to eliminate at least 60% of all sentient life in this galaxy before beginning expansion operations. Is this accurate?" "The galaxy is overcrowded," Kolvash replied matter-of-factly. "Inferior species waste resources that could be better used by more advanced civilizations. Elimination is simply efficient resource management." The representatives of surviving species who attended the trial could barely contain their rage. These were beings whose neighbors, friends, and entire cultures had been efficiently managed out of existence. "You will now hear testimony from survivors of your crimes," Dr. Hee-Jin announced. The first witness was Elder Naltuk of the Hektar remnants. His crystalline form flickered with contained fury as he spoke. "My species numbered 30 billion souls across 12 worlds. We were artisans, scientists, explorers. We had just developed new mining techniques that could extract resources without damaging planetary ecosystems. Premier Kolvash decided this made us too efficient and ordered our extinction." The testimony continued for hours. Survivors from dozens of species told stories of coalition betrayal, of friends and family murdered, while trusting in coalition protection. Admiral Jun-ho watched the trial from his flagship, but his attention was divided. Intelligence reports were coming in about coalition resistance forces gathering in the Outer Rim territories. "They're planning something," reported his intelligence chief, Commander Mi-Suk Yang. "Scattered coalition forces are converging on the Andromeda staging area. It looks like they're preparing for a final offensive." "How many ships?" Junho asked. "Approximately 3,000 vessels. Not enough to threaten our main forces, but enough to cause significant damage if they reach inhabited worlds." But the coalition forces weren't planning to attack inhabited worlds. Intelligence officer Captain Tae-Young-Oh had infiltrated their communications and discovered their true plan. "They're targeting Earth." Fleet Admiral Minho Jang watched the last coalition ship die in the cold vacuum around Earth. The final battle had lasted only 3 hours. 3,000 coalition vessels had attacked humanity's homeworld in a desperate bid for revenge. Now, they were nothing but debris, their planet-killer weapons destroyed before they could fire a single shot. "All enemy contacts eliminated," reported Captain Sujin Lee from her command ship. "Earth is secure, Admiral." Minho felt a mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. After 5 years of hunting, the war was finally over. The Galactic Defense Coalition had been completely destroyed. Every major leader was dead or captured. Their military was scattered dust. Their government had collapsed, but the victory felt hollow. Earth was safe, but billions of humans were still dead. Entire colonies remained empty graveyards. The scars of coalition betrayal would never fully heal. "Status report on coalition survivors," he requested. "Scattered groups throughout the outer rim," replied his intelligence officer. "Maybe 50,000 individuals total, hiding in remote systems. No organized military capability remaining." In the depths of space, those survivors huddled in fear. They had seen what the hunters did to coalition forces. No mercy, no prisoners, no escape. Every day, more of their hiding places were discovered. Every day, more of their people simply vanished. Premier Kolvash, the last surviving coalition leader, was brought before Admiral Minho in chains. The massive tree-like being who had once commanded the genocide of 43 species now looked small and broken. "Your empire is finished," Minho told him. "Your fleets are destroyed. Your leaders are dead. Your authority is gone. You have nothing left." "Then kill me and be done with it," Kolvash replied bitterly. "I know what you humans do to prisoners." "Actually," Minho said with a cold smile, "we have something special planned for you." The execution of Premier Kolvash was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. But instead of a quick death, he was subjected to the traditional execution methods of all 43 species he had ordered destroyed. Each method was applied in sequence, ensuring he experienced the same suffering he had inflicted on entire civilizations. It took 3 days for him to die. And with his death, the Galactic Defense Coalition ended forever. Dr. Kyung-Soo Park had been working on the most important project in human history, ensuring that the Coalition's crimes could never be repeated. From the captured Coalition databases, he had created a complete record of their genocide programs. Every species they destroyed, every method they used, every lie they told, he explained to the new Galactic Council. "It's all documented. Future generations will know exactly what happened and why." But documentation wasn't enough. Admiral Hai Wan Cho, now serving as humanity's supreme commander, had been establishing a new system of galactic governance, the Teo. "Coalition ruled through deception and false alliances," she announced to the assembled representatives of surviving species. "Humanity will rule through strength and honesty. You will know exactly what we expect and exactly what will happen if you fail to meet those expectations." The new galactic order was simple and brutal in its clarity. Humanity would serve as the galaxy's protectors and judges. Any species that showed aggressive expansion toward their neighbors would be stopped. Any government that began genocide. Programs would be eliminated. Any leader who threatened galactic stability would be removed. We tried to be your friends, Admiral HFY told the galaxy during her first official address. You chose to make us your hunters. Now we will be your guardians, whether you want us or not. The surviving coalition species faced a stark choice. Those who had actively participated in genocide programs would be exiled to the galactic rim, forbidden from ever returning to civilized space. Those who had been manipulated by coalition leadership could remain, but under strict human oversight. Captain Sujin Lee was tasked with hunting down the remaining war criminals hiding throughout the galaxy. Her phantom ships could reach any system, infiltrate any hiding place, and eliminate any threat to galactic peace. Target acquired, she reported during a typical mission. Former Coalition Admiral Veltok, hiding on the fourth moon of Kepler 438, confirmed participation in the destruction of the Altarian civilization. Rules of engagement? Asked her tactical officer. No survivors, Sujin replied. The galaxy needs to understand that there is no statute of limitations on genocide. But the new human dominance wasn't just about punishment. Dr. Kyung-Soo Park had also been working to restore what the coalition had destroyed. Using genetic samples and cultural records from coalition museums, they were attempting to resurrect extinct species. We've successfully restored the Velnari aquatic civilization, he announced during a council meeting. Their population is still small, but they're rebuilding their culture on their ancestral worlds. The restoration projects served multiple purposes. They demonstrated human commitment to justice for the coalition's victims. They provided allies grateful for humanity's protection. And most importantly, they sent a clear message that the age of genocide was over. Extinction is no longer permanent, Dr. Kyung-Soo explained to the galactic media. The coalition thought they could erase entire civilizations from history. We're proving them wrong, one species at a time. But not every species welcomed humanity's new role as galactic guardians. The Andromedans, who had remained neutral during the coalition wars, began building military forces that concerned human intelligence. They're developing weapons specifically designed to counter hunter technology, reported Commander Bo Young Kang during a security briefing. It looks like they're preparing to challenge our authority. Admiral HFY reviewed the intelligence with interest rather than concern. Are they planning aggressive action against their neighbors? No evidence of that, Admiral. They seem to be building purely defensive capabilities. Then we leave them alone, HFY decided. Our job is to prevent genocide and aggressive expansion, not to control every species in the galaxy. If they want to defend themselves, that's their right. This decision established an important precedent in the new galactic order. Humanity would not become the type of oppressive empire the coalition had been. Species that governed themselves peacefully and treated their neighbors with respect would be left alone, regardless of their military capabilities. But species that threatened others would face the full force of human justice. The test came when the Rigelian Empire began expanding aggressively into neutral space, using coalition-style tactics of deception and false flag attacks. Within days of the intelligence reports reaching human command, hunter fleets were en route to Rigelian space. This is Admiral Minho Jang of the Human Defense Force, he broadcast to the Rigelian fleet. You are ordered to withdraw immediately from neutral territories and cease all aggressive actions. We do not recognize human authority, the Rigelian commander replied. This sector is under Rigelian protection now. Then you have chosen extinction, Minho responded. The destruction of the Rigelian Empire took exactly 14 hours. Their fleets were eliminated, their military leadership was executed, and their government was replaced with a council supervised by human advisors. The message to the galaxy was clear. The age of conquest was over. Some call us tyrants, Admiral Haiwan observed during a private meeting with her senior staff. They say we've replaced coalition oppression with human oppression. And your response? Asked Captain Sujin. My response is that our oppression prevents genocides, stops aggressive wars, and protects innocent species from extinction. If that makes us tyrants, then the galaxy needs tyrants. The proof of humanity's success came in the form of galactic statistics that Dr. Kyung-Soo Park presented to the Council 5 years after the Coalition's fall. Interspecies conflicts are down 97%, he reported. Civilian casualties from warfare have been reduced to near zero. 7 extinct species have been successfully restored. Economic cooperation between species is at an all-time high. But the most important statistic was simpler. No species had been driven to extinction since humanity took control of galactic affairs. The Coalition spent 1,000 years perfecting genocide, Dr. Kyung-Soo concluded. Humanity has spent 5 years perfecting prevention. Captain Sujin Lee continued her work hunting down the last Coalition war criminals. In remote corners of the galaxy, former Coalition officers still hid from human justice. But there was nowhere they could run that hunter ships couldn't reach. This is Captain Sujin Lee, she broadcast during her final mission, pursuing the last known Coalition war criminal through an asteroid field. You participated in the murder of innocent species. You tortured prisoners. You celebrated genocide. Your crimes will not be forgotten, and they will not go unpunished. The criminal's ship was destroyed minutes later. With his death, the last official member of the Coalition's genocide apparatus was eliminated. But humanity's watch would never end. In hidden bases throughout the galaxy, new hunter units trained constantly. In research facilities, scientists continued developing technologies to counter any future threats. In the halls of human command, officers planned for challenges that might emerge decades or centuries in the future. The Coalition taught us an important lesson, Admiral Haiwan told the graduating